When it comes to investing, there are three assets that seem to be above the rest: gold, the stock market, and Bitcoin. But the question is, if you only had one place to put your money right now, with all the chaos and uncertainty around us that we've been living in during 2020, which would you choose? Today, I sat down with YouTuber Tom Crown to ask him that very question. Let's get it. Hey everybody, today I'm joined by Tom Crown of the Tom Crown YouTube channel on YouTube. And today we're going to be discussing a big topic, a three-way death match between gold, Bitcoin, and the stock market. Where should you be putting your money in? So Tom, welcome to the channel. How are you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom focuses a lot on his channel, and he covers a wide range of topics in cryptocurrencies and assets, even Forex if 3X wasn't good enough for you. And we are going to get down to his perspective on a lot of stuff. I actually went into one of Tom's videos when he was doing a live stream chat a couple weeks ago, and we had a pretty cool talk in there, and it was definitely fun. I really like what you're doing on the channel. If you could just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into crypto.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I was sales guy for years. Didn't work out, and I found myself lost. Crypto's always been my passion since day one. Political science guy, I like the government kind of governance aspect of it, and I decided I'm just going to take this path, jump in. So I started streaming, and I kind of just found myself here, really. It's been a long journey.
None of us really know how we got here.
It's a black hole. You just fall into it. And
to the topic at hand here. Okay, Tom, let's talk about, obviously this is a crazy week. It's election week. A lot of weird stuff happening left and right. But I want to know, let's zoom out. Okay, let's zoom out and let's take away anything that's occurred this week. And I just want to know your perspective. Gold versus the stock market, versus Bitcoin, obviously. Where are you going to try to, build the most wealth? Which one of these do you think offers the best option to people right now?
Well, I'm a little biased, but Bitcoin number one, crypto. I think that market cap alone tells us this. There's so much more room for growth. Stocks have been overvalued for years, and I think we're really starting to see that fall back. Earnings are just out of control, and we're seeing some weakness now. We've seen indices, not just in the US, but we're really seeing markets take a pullback in reaction to what's been going on this year. And I'm a big fan of gold as well. Something about gold just doesn't hold that attention for me in the same way. I do think it has a bright future. So I think I'd do Bitcoin, gold, stocks. I think that stocks are really going to see some suffering into 2021. And maybe that's not macro enough, but
I'll allow it.
Yeah, you'll. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm a merciful judge.
Thank you. Yeah, you're a very nice guy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, let's dive in a little bit deeper here. I think that an interesting thing that's happening right now, which I think bodes very well for Bitcoin and also very well for gold, because I agree with your rankings, same exact way I would have it, is it seems like we're seeing a decoupling of Bitcoin to the stock market. And we all know gold is seen as, it is known as the safe haven asset because it also, now if there's a huge market plunge like we saw back in March, every asset in the world is going to be affected on some level, right? But right now we're seeing, Bitcoin and the stock market going in kind of different directions, at least over the long term. What do you think that's important for, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to really get away from that stock market decoupling, or actually to decouple, to get away from how it's so paired to the stock market?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even a year ago, people were yelling about correlation constantly, all the time. It was one of the biggest fears that I would hear from our audience. And really since March, Bitcoin has been flexing this safe haven asset muscle in a way that really we were hoping to see earlier, didn't get it. We're seeing Dow Jones showing weakness, unable to really retake highs, and Bitcoin is just blasting up. gold has been pretty sideways, and that's honestly surprising to me. I expected to see gold put on some more gains, and maybe it will into the end of the year, the start of the next year.
Well, it's already got to be near exhausted, right? It's on all-time highs, I believe.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, we're in crypto, so it's like all-time highs, man. I need 10,000%. What is it? Oh, it's up a little bit. I don't care.
That's how it is.
But it is important, and it's important because people were really starting to question the safe haven narrative, and I think that as we got farther into this year, we're seeing it stronger and stronger. Crypto really is performing in a different way from everything else, maybe in a manner that it hasn't in the recent past, at least.
I think that's true. I agree with you on so many different things there. I would say that the thing to really watch, okay, is that we've been on this never-ending bull market in stocks, and we know that Bitcoin is cyclical, right? So what we're looking at here is we're looking at, I believe, the stock market overexhausted going into its bear market, and yet Bitcoin is just continuing to do the same thing it always does. And so while, Bitcoin, or while the stock market was in the bull run, when Bitcoin was bullish, you felt like it was correlated, but yet when Bitcoin goes into the bear market, now it's like reverse correlated, where it's like, the more Bitcoin, or the more the stock market was going up, the worse that, Bitcoin was doing. But people don't realize, like, everything is purely based on the supply and demand cycles that are built into Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, I think looking back in a few years, people are going to quote, I can't remember, was it Portnoy or someone said stocks only go up, right? I think that's going to be like in the history books here. Yeah, it's going to be in the history books. I think that that's kind of the psychology of the top. If stocks have not been allowed to crash, stocks have continued to climb. It's like decades now. And this might be too macro now, but I think it's important to Bitcoin. The reason it's a healthy asset and it sees this growth is it's really allowed to contract, expand naturally. Yeah. And the stocks just don't do that. 2009 was the last time stocks didn't just go up until this year. And so I think you're totally on point there. They're due for maybe even a Bitcoin-esque bear market.
Oh Lord, that's scary. Yeah, I think like a rebalancing period. That's what the Bitcoin cycle allows it to do. And it's so funny when I talk to people and I say, so my best friend, right? He's pretty well off. Okay. He makes money. He owns a business, and he had just put a bunch of money in Ethereum, like over the summer. I talked him into it. I was like, listen, it's going to pop. We're getting close to the time. Okay. You're going to want to be in this. Well, right before Bitcoin passed 12K, he had to make a big buy for his business. He's like, man, I just took it all out. I'll put it back in later. And, within a day, or not a day, but within a couple of days, Bitcoin's almost to 14K, and I was like, I told you this is the time. And people are like, how can you be so confident? I'm just like, it's cyclical. It's got like you said, a contraction period. You get the supply shock, and then you get moon, and then you get, retracement. And I don't know how much longer we will have these kind of like perfect cycles where we know what's coming. But for now, that gives us like, we're seeing the matrix while everybody else is like, why is Bitcoin going up?
Oh yeah. I mean, the supply shock this cycle, totally. Especially this year though, you see Grayscale, other publicly traded companies using Bitcoin as a reserve. I think that right now, the reason we're seeing the strength is the halving, adding that supply shock in, but then combining that with the off-exchange accumulation of these large entities. Last time I checked, Grayscale was at $7+ billion in holdings. I think we're going to see the perfect storm of that, where supply is really dried up, maybe in a way it's never been, due to these big actors just swooping it up.
Well, we're seeing a lot of whale movement on the exchanges. And previously, whenever we saw whale movement, that meant dumping. But we're not really seeing that right now. We're just kind of moving to a different time. But I think, kind of going back to the stock market and going back to, publicly traded companies that are actually using Bitcoin as reserves, do you think this is because this has been the biggest story in Bitcoin really for the last, really 2 months, Square buying a bunch of Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, which I love to point out, literally no one knew who MicroStrategy was, okay, until they bought $400 million worth of Bitcoin, okay, or $450 million.
Yeah, put them on the map.
put it on the map, right? We know everybody's like now like, oh, MicroStrategy's in. I'm like, you didn't know what that was. Shut up. Okay. But I pump the story on my channel too. So I guess I'm the same. But here's the thing. Do you think that these companies are in part of this strategy that they're doing is in anticipation of a stock market crash or economic collapse here in the United States?
I think it's certainly a hedge against the strength of the dollar, especially with stimulus talks, things like that. They're threats to the strength of the dollar, at least in the short term. So yes, but an interesting point I think that you'll like about my thoughts on this is that it's going to be very interesting if we do get that kind of retracement or sell off in the stock market. I want to watch those companies holding it as a reserve and see if they fare a little better in these pullbacks. I think that'll really show or really determine the winners and losers here, holding this as a reserve, because that'll be very interesting data if and when we get there. I would love to see Grayscale do great, MicroStrategies do great. Also, I have no idea what MicroStrategy does. I have no idea.
Well, they do small strategies. According to their name. According to their name.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, I have no idea what they do. They buy Bitcoin. That's all I know. Okay. I love that. That's really good. Mark that down as a video idea we can steal from Tom. Thank you. So, in all seriousness, though, just want to wrap up by talking about Bitcoin and gold for a little bit, because I'm totally in agreement with you. Like gold, it didn't excite me very much. Actually, seeing the gold people, the gold bugs, which I think is the dumbest nickname for people that invest ever, seeing them talk negatively about Bitcoin, like, it makes me bearish on gold. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, don't come in here talking crap about Bitcoin. Okay. Yeah. How do you think Bitcoin as digital gold stacks up against physical gold? Do you think we'll see a day where physical gold is worthless? Because everybody's on something that's more scarce, and actually, we know how much there is compared to gold? Or do you think that they'll always kind of live in somewhat harmony with each other? What do you see for the, years down the road future where gold and digital gold?
Totally agree with you. I don't understand that narrative. And I think it comes from maybe a little insecurity on the gold bugs. I like gold too, but I don't need to talk badly about gold. Right. Do I think gold will ever be worthless? No. I think that gold, though, will trend towards its utility value, its like resource value, as opposed to kind of the store of value it's been for thousands of years. It'll hold some of that, of course. But I certainly could see a day where Bitcoin overtakes gold in market cap. I don't think that is out of the question. That could be a decade away. Who knows?
Well, gold, the utility of gold is a very interesting conversation, because, they're talking about space mining in the future because there's gold floating around Saturn and all this stuff. Well, they're doing that not because we want to bring a bunch of gold. I mean, that devalues the supply, but the utility, they need the gold for different parts in electronics, which is going to, the amount of electronics in the world is going to go up parabolically in the next 20 years. It may just go parabolic forever, actually. Until we can all communicate with our brains and we don't need electronic devices, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that guy you went to high school with was like, bro, if we could just use all our brains, we could get stuff to move. Yeah, we'll get there one day. But yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation, because I think the true value of gold, like you're right, like that's a really interesting topic to kind of get a little bit deeper in at some point. But I think that pretty much wraps it up today. And I think I agree with your ranking. We got Bitcoin number 1, we got gold number 2, and we got stock market number 3. Stock market looks like it's going to be going very bearish very soon, and things like that. So thanks for coming on the channel. We appreciate it. Tom, tell everybody where they can find you at.
Yeah, dude. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Welcome everybody to check out our channel. We do daily live streams, and it's at youtube.com/Tom Crown.
Awesome. And we'll have it on the screen at some point. You guys know links are down in the description if you guys want to go subscribe to Tom. Actually, go subscribe to Tom. I don't give you guys an option. You guys please go subscribe to his channel. Support good people in the space that are doing good things and have interesting perspectives. So Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show. That's all I got today. Be blessed. Boy out.